record this one. Pastor Joseph is currently in Zimbabwe. I've known him for now. Okay, I knew him when I was in the university some 2 years ago. But we became friends 5 years ago. We've been doing some stuff together. We ever met in New York when he was pastoring a church there. He's now in Zimbabwe. I know him. He's an accomplished scholar of the word. He's also a businessman.
Wow.
Yeah, sure. And Pastor Joseph, please meet Pastor Stephen Soka. He's from Uganda. He leads an organization called Mission Active. I think we'll get to know each other as we go along. So we were working on a different program with Pastor Stephen, and then I said, okay, we can also work together on this, training each other on kingdom business. So we started these trainings. I remember I ever sent you a video of our first meeting. Yeah, so yeah, there you go, gentlemen. Yeah.
Hello, Pastor Joseph.
Sir, how are you doing? It's a great pleasure to finally see you and meet you online. So in person, I'm seeing you for the first time. It's a great honor. And I've been to Uganda a few times. And I've been to Entebbe and to Kampala and I think a few towns in between. I also have been to the island. I forgot what the name of the island close to Entebbe is called.
That's either Bugala Island or Sese Island.
So I've been, and so I have come there for ministry, and I've done business courses or trainings there. So I have a good friend of mine there. He's called Reverend Grace Kabuye. He's the pastor of My People Ministry church. So I have come there, and I have many friends in Uganda now, a lot of people in ministry and in business, and getting to know you, it's a great honor. And I was supposed actually to be in DRC next month. Unfortunately, we are not going to DRC because of the COVID-19, but we hope to go to DRC and so forth. And Malawi is home. I take it as my home. I've been there, lived there, worked there, ministered there, all you think of. Again, I want to say I'm a global citizen. I've been all over the place. I've been to many countries in Europe, probably more than 15 countries in Europe, most parts of America, and most parts of Africa and Asia as well, partly. So I would claim to be a global citizen with a global perspective, and I will try to say and give some of my experiences for the benefit of this particular meeting. Thank you so much to all of you gentlemen. Emmanuel, God bless you. I know you're on mute, but God bless you. It's a pleasure to have you online as well and to meet you here. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Pastor Joseph. I'm glad we've been able to meet. And thank you, Pastor Chifuniro, for the connection. Well, what I can say is that what I see happening here is a fulfillment of God's plan, God's vision, because God gave me a vision and a burden to be a man that will take the gospel to the entire world, but more specifically to Asia. So if I'm meeting people who are global citizens, then that's a dream accomplished. So I want to thank you for that. Pastor Dewart, can you hear us?
Yeah, he says he can hear us. Maybe Pastor Dewart, you can just type if you are hearing us. Pastor Dewart? Okay, I think he wrote me on WhatsApp to say he's able to hear us. So that's okay. We can proceed with the meeting.
Let's just listen in.
Yeah, please, let's proceed with the meeting.
Okay, so I have a testimony to share, Pastor Chifuniro, from last time when we were talking about the business ideas that we had come up with. One of the things that came up was one of the things that came up was the business enterprise.
Yep.
Agricultural inputs and agricultural business.
Mm.
So today I went to visit our local sub-county leader, our sub-county leader, and I was telling him about what we do and our ministry and the plans that we have. And I was asking him if there are any opportunities that they have as the local government. And he said, okay, we have something that we are using to support domestic agriculture for people.
Mm.
And so he gave me a pack of some seeds, which I want to show you here.
Wow.
This is a pack of African eggplant.
Wow.
This one here.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is a pack for onions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can see here. Then this is a pack for collards. They are collards, but for us here we call them sukuma wiki in
Okay.
Swahili.
Wow.
Sukuma
Okay.
wiki.
Yeah.
This is when you're in Kenya.
Yeah.
Sukuma wiki.
Yeah.
And then there is this eggplant, long purple eggplant.
Yeah.
This.
Mm-hmm.
Then there is this tomato
Yeah. Wow.
seed.
Mm-hmm.
So these, they can easily be planted and grown in a home setting, even if you don't have land, using sacks.
Wow.
So what we're going to do is we are going to begin by training people, giving them free training,
Yeah.
and begin a demonstration and a trial session.
Mm.
And then after that, then we shall roll it out to the entire village and begin to support people. First, this will help them to have food in their home, which is the healthy food because these are vegetables.
Mm.
And then as we roll it out, we'll see how to make it commercial. But
Awesome.
step is the agriculture skill
Wow.
and know how to be productive in agriculture. And then after that, we shall go to see how we can make it cooperative, where we bring together what everyone has produced and see how we can sell this and try to create a chain.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
A chain. So I think it is beginning to work. This meeting is beginning. This training is beginning to work. So thank you, Pastor Chifuniro. This is great.
Praise the Lord for the grace. Praise the Lord for the grace. Yeah. Well, so now without maybe wasting a lot of time, I would like to give the floor to Pastor Joseph. I would take this meeting as introductory. Even if we can have 50 sessions, Pastor Joseph cannot exhaust everything. I know him. If you don't mind, Pastor Stephen, I'm extending these meetings to other participants. It may be from other countries. I just feel other people can benefit as well. We'll be having, so there'll be twofold. We'll be having one, those just tailor-made for you, and then we'll be also having ones that are just for everybody who is interested in this kind of training, who can benefit. Maybe as a start, I don't know what Pastor Joseph prepared, but I just wanted him to share with us about maybe tent making missions, specifically looking at Apostle Paul, and why it is important for churches, ministries to be able to generate their own revenue, rather than to say we want to go to a crusade, then we need to. In Malawi, we've got people who we have got some other people who do quite big work, like they bake from cars. I don't know if it is there in Uganda. Why is it important? And then he will take another direction. Over to you, Pastor Joseph.
Thank you so much, Reverend Chifuniro. It's a pleasure once again. I want to start off by saying I'm happy to hear what Pastor Steve is doing and the team in Uganda. In 2002, in Malawi, there was a famine or a drought, as you would call it. And when that drought hit the country, we were left with no option but to respond as a church or as believers. And the church that I minister in and I've served in for many years, about 20 years now, it's called Living Waters Church. Funiro knows it. We took upon ourselves an initiative to respond to such drought. And what we did was both as a Bible school and the church had a collaboration, and we created an organization, a parachurch organization called Eagles Relief and Development Program. The whole purpose for raising Eagles Relief and Development Program was to respond to the hunger and drought that had hit the country at that time, curbing the poverty and the death that was perpetuated by the drought. So what we did was to formulate this organization, and immediately it grew into a great organization. And the main thing was that we wanted people to be food secure. And for them to become food secure and bringing food security in their spaces and communities, we needed first to teach them why it is called Eagles Relief and Development Program. It's because firstly, we responded by giving relief, which meant that we gave food. We spent millions of dollars just distributing food to people so that we could fight hunger quickly. But we noticed that you cannot fight hunger by continually giving people free stuff. This is why there's an adage: you train a man to fish, you have helped them for life, but you give them fish every day, you are disempowering them. So what we did was that we had to teach them how to fish. So we had to now do trainings, seminars, and we empowered the entire country. Eagles, from 2002 up to now, it's about 18 years in existence, and it's grown strong. I literally was a pioneer member. I stood there. I was in the steering committee. We formalized the board. I became a board member for over 10 years and functioned there and saw God at work. And we also had a program that we developed for the Bible school that I was an academic dean for some time. For about 13 years, I worked with the Bible school. We created a subject called God's Heart for the Poor. Some of the principles we borrowed from were principles used in God's way of farming, because this is the way you can farm from a godly perspective, from a Christian perspective, from a biblical perspective, different from everybody else. People just take principles in the Bible and then parrot them without understanding them. Things like, and Isaac sowed in the year of famine and harvested the harvestfold. If you just uproot that verse and exhume it as it is, you may not have an understanding, because there has to be context to everything that you do biblically and spiritually. So I just wanted to start off from that basis and acknowledge that, Pastor, what you're starting off and starting to do is a good initiative. Uganda needs people like you, people who have a different mindset, who are creative, who are innovative, who can take us out of the box and break out of the cocoon and move forward and do exploits. Daniel 11:32 tells you that you will do exploits. And that's one of the reasons why I am usually standing on what you call Christocentric gospel or everything we do. It's basically Christocentric. It has to be from a Christ perspective. So having moving forward, let me then move on to what I was asked to talk about, and then add a few things that I had also planned to say. So Funere had asked me to say what I think about. Can you say it again? Then I move on.
I just said why about how ministries should be self-reliant by engaging in some entrepreneurial activities. I think that's all. Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Following an example of Apostle Paul. Yeah, sure.
Thank you. So entrepreneurship is a biblical thing.
Okay,
In fact, Apostle Paul himself tells us that. Remember, in 1 Thessalonians and 2 Thessalonians, there are two critical scriptures that we use in chapter 4. And Apostle Paul says, let everyone work with his own hands. He says, when we first came to you, we taught you how to work with your own hands, and we taught you that everyone should eat from the fruit of his own hands. And he continued to say, even in the second letter that he wrote, he says, remember, this is what we taught you. The things that we ourselves did and continue to do, we are not depending on anyone's labor and fruit. We are depending from our own hands or with and in our own hands. Why? He says then, everyone must work with verse 11 to 12, Brother Funim. Then he says, everyone must work with his own hands, and he who does not work does not eat. Why? Because as a Christian, you need to realize that God does not bless laziness. He blesses the works that the hands that labor. He says, I'll bless the works of your hands. And so from Paul's perspective, he knew that it was his biblical or apostolic right. If you read in 1 Corinthians, it will tell you when he argues for his apostolic rights, one of it was to receive, because Galatians 6 verse 6 says, he who teaches, verse 10 actually, he who teaches spiritual or minister spiritually must he himself be ministered to, material or physically, meaning to say he understood that he had a right. He also taught that you cannot muzzle an ox while it treads grain. He understood these principles of giving and receiving. He also understood that an elder should be honored. He who is supposed to be given honor should be honored, but double honor is given to elders, of which he was one, and yet he did not abuse those rights, and he did not take advantage of those rights. What he then did was to become a precursor, or to showcase that if you are a true leader, you lead by action. What does he do? He continues to work using his own hands. So he then became a tent maker. By the way, Paul did not become a tent maker when he went into ministry. Paul's family was already in this business for years. Remember that his father had already this business, and it had grown into such great dimensions of recognition to the point that his father had a Roman citizenship, such that Paul himself also, by virtue of being born to a Roman citizen, he also had a Roman citizen.
Yeah.
So Paul was a dual citizen by nature. And so for this purpose, he was able to do business across the world. It is said that they provided tents all the way up to India, across the Asia, and in so many places. And that's how wealthy they were. They had enough substance to support their ministry in their own sense. So from there, if he says, the things that you saw us do, the things that you heard us do, commit also unto other faithful men. What things are we talking about? Firstly, spiritual things. Secondly, he also is talking about fighting against laziness and rising to a place where you use your own hands to provide for your family, to meet for your needs, to supply and support the ministry as well. So as ministers, we are not just charlatans who preach the gospel for money. We are not there to preach the gospel for money. Paul actually teaches in 1 Timothy chapter 6 that some have erred away from faith. Why? Because they have done so because of the love of money. So then I want to say we need to separate these principles and these things and set them clearly. If you are doing business using your own hands, supporting the ministry, you are respected in many cases, as opposed to just standing there and receiving and receiving and receiving. What happens at the end of the day, if people stop giving, you become, you twist the gospel, you twist the principles of the Bible, and begin to throw principles that are unbiblical so that people begin to give you. This is why we have got the rise of the prophetic ministries, the rise of the new, what you call neo-Pentecostal, neo-charismatic churches today. And most of it is not Christocentric, but it is money-based. If you notice, most of their principles, they are material-based. And this is why they've created yet another gospel called the prosperity gospel. The gospel is one package. It cannot be broken into entities. And so, if we are to rise up like Paul, being our example, in fact, why I want to, Reverend Funiro, allow me to bring this juxtaposition to say the reason why Apostle Paul is our kind of bar to work with, it's not because he himself is greater in any sense or in any way. He doesn't claim that. But what he does say to us is in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1, imitate me as I imitate Christ. So the bar that we have is Christ himself.